इधर इधर हाँ उधर ज्योति का बस ये दोबारा थोड़ा नीचे करो, ज्योति का फेस नहीं दिखेगा। ठीक है। This is more than 20,000 every year, and there is a complete paucity of jobs. Hardly any jobs is find. The way forward is entrepreneurship, and it is a priority for the. They have all the support from my family, etc., and the energy levels are very high.
There are so many things from the entrepreneurs, especially for startups. I think TRI is helping a lot. Because there are wonderful people.
Because pharmaceutical industry is the scope of self-learning is immense. Now, what we feel is that our students, which is not really the way to go for. By imparting or by giving an environment of self-learning where students can learn themselves, they can be more independent and can grow more and actually learn, which is one of the environments. They can learn, and kind of philosophy in this region. So I didn't know what to expect initially, but later we found out that it's a very, very healthy environment to interact.
So this whole environment is heading towards framework. Complete small enterprise, simulating processes. I always
just leave these.
What you can second TD spot versus putting up a YouTube video which I can measure who came, how much time I spent. The scope for online marketing is gone.
About 10 minutes more. Thank you for your patience.
Already have a reasonable presence and agro-processing, warehousing.
भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा, द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उच्चल जलधि तरंगा। कब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाए सब जय गाथा। जय गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
An honor to welcome all of you for this event, which is focused on sensitizing our youth, especially from our region, to look towards entrepreneurship, to think about becoming job creators, business leaders. An honor to welcome all of you for this event, which is focused on sensitizing our youth, especially from our region, to look towards entrepreneurship, to think about becoming job creators, business leaders and icons. It is my honor to thank Dr. B.C. Joseph once again for giving us this opportunity to sensitize the youth on this subject of entrepreneurship. I'd like to invite our President Thai Punjab in Chandigarh, and also a very successful serial entrepreneur, Mr. Puneet Vatsayan, on the stage. May I also request one of our very leading journalists, rather a successful journalist from the region, Mr. Jyoti Kamal from CNN-IBN. Jyoti, please. A very much a right example from an entrepreneur who has been from the region, who started small and is now a very successful employer. May I request Mr. Sameer Jain from Net Solutions. He's an environmentalist at heart and also an aspiring entrepreneur. May I request Mr. Rahul Gupta. She's a law student, but also an aspiring entrepreneur, and I hope she'll inspire in the future many other entrepreneurs. May I request Shreya Bhatnagar to come on stage. May I now request Mr. Puneet Vatsayan to take on the charge and lead this session.
Thank you, Sameer. Thank you, Dr. Joshin, for giving us the opportunity of hosting this event at DAV College, Chandigarh. When we were conceiving this program, we had a couple of thoughts in our mind. The first, this is our 66th year post our independence. As we celebrate or as we travel into the 66th year, there are a lot of interesting things that are happening. In our 65th year, we saw a world economy that was going through turbulent times. We saw in India that is still transiting through politically interesting times. As people in the audience, which all 5 of us were at some point in time in our life, it's an interesting economy to be graduating to. A lot of us did not have the kind of opportunities that you will have, both in terms of career options and in terms of the kinds of things you can do should you choose to become an entrepreneur. Kuch Kar Dikhana Hai for Thai Chandigarh is off the beaten track. It is about grit, it is about determination, It is about overcoming frustration. It is about scaling. It is about putting a flag in this region. It is about looking back 10 years post and say we made a difference. We made a difference to our region, our community and the country. I am reminded of a poem that Rabindranath Tagore wrote, and I'm not sure how many in the audience are familiar. Rabindranath Tagore had written, "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high." And as we discussed today, the format we thought we'll follow is a Q&A format. I, as the moderator of this session, am going to take the liberty of grilling the 4 panelists. And then I'm hoping that you folks in the audience will pick it up. My first question obviously goes to Shreya. She's an interesting, she has an interesting background. She's a law student. She does interesting things on the side, both in terms of her passion for environment, as well as building an interesting side business. So Shreya, quick question for you. How did your journey evolve and where does the road take you? And this doesn't work, so might as well.
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on the panel. It's an absolute honor to be here. I think I feel extremely underqualified to be sitting amongst all of you right now. To answer your question, I think what I've been doing for the past 3 to 4 years that I've been in my college is just following my passion and giving it my best. So what I think I've kind of expanded my horizons. I'm not limited myself to law. I've expanded to say an NGO. I'm doing corporate work. I like to be active. So to answer your question, my journey has just been about me being active and me being passionate about whatever I do, and I try to give it my 100%. As regards to what's in the future, I don't really know, but I hope that this country or this city provides me a platform, or provides me enough opportunities, fair opportunities I would say, to showcase myself and to give the maximum I can to this country. That's all I request from, I would say, India on the eve of independence. And
Thanks, Ray. Samir, a quick one for you. Samir has had a long, eventful journey in a very short period of time. He's built a very successful IT company. They're doing some very interesting stuff, building some very interesting apps. He's been featured in a number of newspapers. So Samir, a question. If you had not been in Chandigarh, and let's say, being in Chandigarh, building a company like you've done, working on Apple and Android platform, you think would have been different if you had been in Bangalore or Chennai? And I'm sure lots of people have asked you that question. So,
you know, from my perspective, I don't really see myself being anywhere else other than Chandigarh. For me, I come from a smaller place than Chandigarh, from Ambala, and for me Chandigarh was aspirational. And when I came here, I really found the opportunities. So I perhaps, you know, I look at all the other regions where IT is big, and I'm not sure I would be a good fit there. And I think the opportunities here exist for me to build the business that I have, probably wouldn't have existed.
So if you look another 10 years hence, so we are in 2022, where do you think this particular region would be in terms of opportunity, in terms of career options for a lot of folks here, in terms of you?
So my dream is that this city becomes the Silicon Valley. I know Bangalore cannot be that Silicon Valley. I'm hoping that a lot of product companies build their base here, because you don't need scale to be a product company. You can be a smallish company, build something really innovative, And the region does have the manpower, it does have the infrastructure, and given it has everything that you need for a product development company, hopefully, this could be maybe a mini Silicon Valley, and we'd be thriving here.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be excellent.
So, Jyoti Kamal again is a senior journalist, he's a senior editor with CNBC. He's a graduate of DAV College and Punjab University, a couple of departments there. Jyoti, you've been a journalist covering this region now for what 12, 13 years. How would you describe this, and how would you describe where this region is headed?
All right, firstly, it's a great kind of honor to be amongst all of you, because there's the college I graduated from, so it's kind of amazing to be back here. And life takes strange courses. You never know what you're going to be doing. Like if one tries to think what you guys must be thinking right now. When I was in your stage, I had no clue what I wanted to be in life. It was just kind of drifting along, course after course. I mean, probably do a BA, probably do a BSc. What to do after a BA, BSc, probably there was nothing like an MBA then, probably go into MSc. I joined MSc in zoology. Halfway through the MSc, I realized what could I do with an MSc, and shifted over to mass communication. Mass communication then was good because the demand was much more and the supply was less. Now the tables have turned. Now the supply is much more and the demand is less. And probably that's the problem that we all face, that we are always chasing the job that we want, and by the time we reach that job, the situation has changed. So probably what we need to do is to probably look 5 years ahead and figure out what are going to be the jobs of the future. What is it that's going to be a job 5 years down the line? A job that's a job today probably won't be a job 5 years down the line. As they say that when your painter starts buying the stock in the company where you are invested, it's time for you to start selling that stock, because the stock is in trouble if everybody is buying it. Okay, so that's what I would say, that if you see that there is a huge trend at this point in time, you've got to think what is going to be the trend 3 to 4 years down the line. So if you look at this region, now this region has been agrarian, it has been dominated by an agrarian economy. You keep hearing about industry wanting to migrate out from Punjab. They don't want to be in Punjab because there is a power crisis, there is the administration doesn't seem to be very industry friendly. So in these situations, in these circumstances, what do? It seems like just challenges and challenges. But the flip side of the situation is where there are challenges upon challenges, that's where the opportunities are. Because there is a challenge, that means there is a problem. If there is a problem, there is a solution that's begging to be found out. And if there is a solution that's begging to be found, that's where the opportunity is. That's where the jobs are. That's where your future is. So it's for you to figure out very carefully how do you want to shape your life? How do you see this region? If you ask me, as he asked me, how do I see this region shaping up? Malcolm Gladwell has a theory called the tipping point. You kind of reach a tipping point after which things suddenly start to roll. You might often ask yourself, why is it that things are just not improving in India? I mean, why are things just so much in place in the West? It's because the tipping point has been crossed there and the systems have automatically synchronized now. Every individual is in sync with everyone else. It's like an automatic syncing that has taken place. If you look at ants are very basic kind of creatures, but they operate in sync using just basic level intelligence. So their society has already gone into a sync in terms of how to operate. That's why things are smooth. You stand in queues, everything happens in sync. Our society is still in turbulence. We are still not in sync. Because as he said, this is the 66th year of our independence. We are still a young country. It's going to take time. But we have made fairly decent progress in these few years. But whatever, the region is poised for that tipping point now. So it's for you to exploit the tipping point. So what are those factors which are going to bring about that tipping point? The industry, people like you are now kind of thinking of better opportunities. Events like these have started happening. There's a startup that he's leading called Hatch for Startups. So that is for startup companies. Suddenly you see that the first day that they're on Facebook, there are 6,000 likes, 7,000 likes. People want to do things now. People want to innovate. They want to be entrepreneurs. Now is the time to do it. It's definitely now or never, in the sense that this is that inflection point that we are at now. So you have all the opportunities. It's just about taking that little bit of risk now, because it's risk. One thing I would like to add, much as I would like to be as successful as the people that we report, because we are on this side of the camera, in the sense that we are asking successful people about their lives, I would like to say that one common unifying feature that I have found in many of the people who have kind of made it well Anybody from the region, if I look at that person who has done well, what is that common unifying factor? Education? No. What else? What could be that common unifying factor that's made them successful? Risk, of course, yes, risk is a very big factor. What else? Passion, passion, of course, passion coupled with risk is what's going to propel you forward. What else? Consistency, of course, if you have passion and are willing to take risk, you will be consistent because you want your goal to be achieved automatically because you have a passion for it. Consistency doesn't come if it's forced upon you. Consistency comes if it's from within you. What else? What? Creativity. Okay, creativity, of course, you got to be creative, otherwise you won't have a model. So, hard work, of course. One thing that you probably won't realize, but which is the common factor amongst all of you, is what I've seen is age. They started young. They made their mistakes when they were young. They were 17, 18 and they started making mistakes. I can't make a mistake today. I got a family, I got a decent job, I don't want to take risks and get thrown out from my job. But you guys don't have jobs. You guys still don't know what you want to do. You have a good 10 years of experimenting and nobody's going to shout at you. Nobody's going to say, their kids, they made a mistake, doesn't matter. So make your mistakes, make them fast and make them rapidly. Do whatever you want to do. That's the best way to learn. And that's where success happens. If the other day I was talking to the alchemist, the one who runs the public negotiator. So, I asked him that, how come you got so successful? What was the secret? I mean, the same story. I started when I was 17, 18, I was on a scooter, I used to go from place to place, and today his kids drive around in the fanciest cars that you see in Chhattisgarh. I don't know what to make of them, but so far as he's never done a good job for himself. So start young, make your mistakes, and then hopefully I will be there to kind of give you success stories from this side of the camera again. Thanks, JK.
I just want to take a quick 1 minute pause and just ask you, how many of you here are BBA students? MSc? And what's the balance of you guys doing? Engineering. Sorry? BCom. And how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? Corporate employees? That's it? So 5 corporate employees and 10 entrepreneurs. And what about the rest of the class? Bureaucrat. Bureaucrat? And politicians? We still have got at 20. What about the rest? Okay, one that. It's still not adding up. As
we have this Puneet, a young 15-year-old gentleman who's come from St. John's. I think he's bumped his movement. But anyway, he's a very aspiring, entrepreneur. Athar, would you like to ask?
You may want to speak.
Atharv has a question. What is the scope of national security professional in future? What are the academic requirements, if any? Professional, network security professional, maybe Samir or Puneet can answer.
Samir?
Massive. I think that's where the scene is, the IT scene is these days. Big data, how do you secure that data? People are interconnected, different devices, cross-platform, cross-device, so big future. And the time is now, not when you grow up.
Would you like to add on? So what is it that he should be doing now?
Securing systems.
So considering he's a 10th grader. So
hacking into systems actually.
Yeah. Just trying to hack, learning.
Protecting them from any kind of hack, phishing.
Cyber security, he means.
Yeah, learning the inside of an OS of all the systems and how do they work and generally understanding how it all works, how does it all tie in together.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was going about asking questions to what kind of career options you guys wanted to take, Rahul, who's on the panel here, went ahead and created an NGO called Global Environmental Concern. He was passionate about making a difference. He was passionate about doing something while all of us were considering jobs and entrepreneurship, of actually looking at ways to make a better civic society. Along the way, he's taking classes in the afternoon for folks who are not as privileged as we are in this room. So Rahul, where do you see this region, India, your initiatives 5 years now?
All right. So if we look at what Jyoti said, right, that we don't have electricity, neither in this room right now, and moreover, all over Punjab, it's like that, right? So 5 years down the lane, I hope some of you are going to work on solar technologies or some alternate sources of energy, because if this sort of condition is going to be there aren't going to be any jobs. There aren't going to be any, I mean, how do you expect anything, you know, if electricity is not there? I don't see any sort of development going around anywhere. So again, as he mentioned earlier, that where the problem is, the solution lies right there. So someone, you know, one of you probably has to start something which is related to energy, which is related to, you know, renewables. And that's the big opportunity lying over there, because when the problem is there, you got to find a solution. And the problem is huge, that means the opportunity is even huger. And that's where a lot of money can be raised, that's where a lot of money can be earned, and that's where your dreams of driving that big car can get fulfilled, because it is like that, you know, you gotta solve the big problem and you have the big buck. And certainly 5 years down the lane, I hope to see a lot of changes. If certainly people do something over here, and that's what the theme of the event is, Kuch kar dikhana hai. Sort of you, whosoever kuch karke dekhenge and kahin na kahin pahunchenge, that's how we're going to be somewhere. Otherwise, it's a dark shade there.
Thanks, Rahul. So I'm going to open it up for the audience to ask what is it that they want to do. And folks on the panel would be very happy to answer questions. No questions?
We have some questions which we took before the event. There's some question from, is the government doing something to encourage entrepreneurship? Because in India, mostly generations and a lot of people are not familiar with the concept of entrepreneurship.
Who asked this question?
There's no name on it, I just got a slip from it. Oh, okay. May I have your name, please? Nina. Leela. Okay, sorry.
So, JK, you want to take that question?
So JK is going to take the question. Jyoti, come on.
Yeah, sit down. So you asked that is the government doing anything for entrepreneurs? Of course, on paper it's doing a lot of stuff. So you keep having these meetings where on paper a lot of things happen. But if you suddenly decide to be an entrepreneur and you decide, okay, somebody wants to decide, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. So what do you do now? Does the government help you to make that first step? That's the critical step that you need to take. How will the government help you? It won't. You will have to take those steps on your own. The government steps in once you are fairly established. And that's where the problem is. Okay, from getting to be a zero to be fairly established, that's when the government's entrepreneurial initiatives kick in. Once you are established at some level. So that's that bridge that you got to make. Okay, that's that jump and that leap that you got to make. And all those leaps are counterintuitive. They go against the grain, they go against what's commonly held, they go against what's routinely expected to be the way somebody was asking here about how should I become a network security expert. The best network security experts today, is, as somebody was pointing out here, are those who have been hackers. Okay, you have been hacking away, sitting somewhere, compromising other people's network security, and that's how you know how to be a network security expert. Okay, but now it's not advice that's going to be routinely given out that all of you start hacking into systems that you want to be if you want to become network security experts. But that's the way it works in the world. You got to test out whether you have a skill or not. How will you test it out? So when you ask, does the government help? Yes, it does, but it helps at a certain stage. And that stage would be a little later to come by. The first thing that you got to do is to help yourself. You got to decide you want to be an entrepreneur, what is the area that you want to work on. And as he was saying that in this area, if you look at the energy requirement, it's always going to be there, and India is always going to lag behind in energy production. Because every second AC that you add to your house consumes 2000 additional watts of power. To generate those 2000 watts of additional power when you're already underpowered, you commission a project today, that project will come on stream 8 years down the line. When that 2000 watt requirement would have gone up to 15,000 watt requirement, again you will start building for that, you will again build it 15 years down the line. India will perennially be short on power, unlike China, which is already surplus.